everybody. I hope you enjoyed the tea/coffee break. Kenneth and James are both Kenyans joining us, which is awesome, having people from other African countries. They're both Google Cloud developer experts, which means they're involved with mentoring and contributing to the community for Google Cloud, which is also really awesome. Kenneth will be speaking first, and then they like sharing the tag teaming. Kenneth stays in France at the moment, working for a Kenyan company as CTO and co-founder. Yeah, cool.
Okay. Hi everyone. Yeah, cool. So my name is So we're gonna be talking about how you can deploy Django apps on Google App Engine flexible environment. Previously, it wasn't that easy to deploy Django applications with the Google App Engine standard environment, but there's something that came about, and I feel like this is something that we're going to talk about with James and see how you can leverage on this to build apps that scale. Sorry. Okay, so just a little about myself. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Kenneth Kinendri. I'm a Google Cloud developer expert. Professionally, I'm a software engineer and also a CTO at a startup called Infinity Space. It's based in France. That's where I'm currently based. I just relocated there. And we're working on some mobile money stuff. Previously, I was doing consulting at iHelp Consulting. And I do a lot of Python, a lot of DevOps stuff, and last year I joined the Google Developer Expert Program. So I'll just call James so I can do an intro himself a bit.
My name is James Moy. I'm also from Nairobi. I work as a consultant. I do a lot of stuff in Django and Python as well. We have an organization in Nairobi called iHelp Consulting. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of iHelp. iHelp? Oh, we have some fans here. Thank you. So we have an organization called iHelp Consulting, which is basically a group of consultants. We build software for local startups and sometimes international clients as well. So today we will talk about deploying your Django app to the Google App Engine flexible environment, and show you some of the things you can take advantage of that are built into the service that can be useful to you. So Kenneth will start, then I'll join him as it continues.
Okay. Wow, so I'm really, really excited to be here. I had applied and presented a paper in 2014, PyCon 2014, but I wasn't able to make it. I feel very happy to be here and honored to be speaking to you guys 2 years later. My dreams are valid. So I hope everyone is ready. I normally run, I'll be transitioning to a pro marathon athlete next year. So that's something I do on the side, and I'm not coding. This is kind of like the overview of what we're going to be talking about. So, just a bit of introduction. How many know about App Engine? Just raise your hand. Wow, big crowd. How many do Django stuff, or know Django, or had Django? Oh, it's the right crowd. So, we'll talk about the runtime, a bit about setting up SQL, cloud storage, Memcache, deep down, a bit of PubSub if you're doing microservices stuff, and then Stackdriver, logging. So let's go back in time. I mean, how people used to develop apps before. So there was this guy we were having a conversation yesterday, was telling us about he's done 20 years in software engineering, and the way he started his career, he was doing basically everything, the data center, networking, setting up everything. So, we've just been seeing a lot of transition, and now there's like this hipsterish thing that's now DevOps, and everyone is, we're transitioning. So before we had this kind of setup, and engineers just code, then your ops guys will deploy. We've seen this levels of abstraction being made better and better over time. And it would take a long time to ship code. It was very tough. The people who are there who are 20 years experience know the pains that I did feel them. So, but now this is like the kind of modern day developer. There's a lot of tools that have been done, a lot of abstraction, lots of technology coming in, and servers are now in the cloud. Cloud computing just came and everyone just went there, and things are now more easier. So you just focus on the business case, validate. So a lot of the hard work has already been done for you. But it also comes down to when you're engineering manager, CTO, and you're leading your team, it always comes to this situation where you're thinking about the time and the money, how to roll out, to ship builds and all this stuff. So what do we do? Like, what's the solution? So Google App Engine, when it was being built, it was released about 2008, 2007. But I was fortunate to be at the GCP Next this year, and I had Eric Schmidt talk on the keynote about the history about this, which I didn't know. And he was talking about in the early 2000s, Google really invested a lot in networking, security, infrastructure, and they had this thing that we call Google 3, which was kind of like a network operating system that made it easy for people to just come, developers, and code and focus on the new things. So engineers will join Google at the time around 2000, early 2000, 2003, 2004. They'll just come up and roll out something like Gmail or Google Maps or all this kind of stuff. But as they transitioned, we thought that let's make this, let's be futuristic and release something. So they released Google App Engine, and if you look at App Engine in 2.8, it was kind of like what they had at Google 3, but now made open in the public. So we had guys who came in and rolled up on it. We had Snapchat, Angry Birds, who came up, built stuff on it, and they didn't have to focus on security, scaling, no ops. So it was kind of easier for them to scale. So this is App Engine built on the data centers and Google's infrastructure, as Power Search, and all the other products. Yeah, but suites, like all this stuff has been figured out, but what's the catch? I mean, we had standard environments, which was good, but it didn't work in everyone's context. Maybe it worked for Google context. I mean, but maybe you had your own architecture and it didn't work out. So probably you had to work around those standard environment that they made. You couldn't add maybe some libraries, maybe you're doing some machine learning and these other things. And you're like fixed on how you had to make your architecture work like App Engine. So this was kind of, and you also had like limited runtimes, so you had only 4 runtimes. So what if you're building something on Node.js or Scala or this other kind of stuff? So that means that you couldn't leverage on this. But yeah, Google listened, and we've been seeing like a lot of changes and new stuff coming in, and that's where the flexible environment comes about, which is previously managed VMs. So basically, what it is, it's a Google Compute Engine instance that leverages on the Google App Engine infrastructure, and it has support for like most of the runtimes that we use, Python, Java, and Node.js, and the best feature that they have now is you can have custom runtimes that you can use. And now they have this new feature now. It used to be called modules. If you're an App Engine developer, now it's called services. So it's actually very easy to interconnect your microservices in between. So there was a lot of problems with the standard environment where if you were doing stuff like this, like on sockets and all this stuff, it wasn't easy to interconnect. But now with flexible environment, like all those problems are solved. So I mean, this is how it looked like. But if you're building a Django application, and previously, before they released Cloud SQL, everyone knows how it was a pain with the data store and maybe Mongo, and that's another conversation. I mean, at least they gave us Cloud SQL, which is a service, and I'm just going to show you like how to configure. So what's Cloud SQL? It's basically an online instance of MySQL running on the Google Cloud. And you pay by the hour, you can easily connect to any of your services. So think about if you have very many services that are Django based or Python based running on your Google App Engine, you can actually just connect to them and communicate with their data. You can easily roll out, handles multiple regions, you know. So this is basically how you set it up, very simple. You go to create a project. After you create your project, you go and create your MySQL instance on this side. They actually released second generation version of Cloud SQL, which has like more features. You can go check it out. And basically describe how you want your MySQL instance to look like. So most of the time, you want to really decouple your database with your core services. So I mean, if you're having a service that's really scaling up, you want to be in a situation where it's easy for you to scale up your database and storage without affecting the core. So this is where this comes in. Now, in any Django project that you're doing, you have this, which is you have to define your production settings of PY, and you have your database. So you have your engine, which you check, your name, your user, you know the rest. And basically, when you're starting any Django app, you just start it like this. But if it's an App Engine app, there are a couple of things that you need to look at. So one is the runtime. You have to define which runtime is running on. And then there's this variable that's called VM, where you select, and when you say VM is equals to true, that tells App Engine that, hey, this is not going to be when you're deploying it, it's going to know that this is not actually a standard environment, but it's going to be a flexible environment that's coming in. And every Django app needs an entry point where you define your website, where you have unicorn, WSGI and all. And in this time, you can even go deeper and configure your runtime, which version of Python you want to run on. So in this case, you're going to do Python 3. So on the standard environment, you could do Python 3. So on Flex, you can do that. And it's like a more deeper kind of app.yaml file that includes the environment variables, which you actually like mask out and prevent. So in this case, you have your settings module, your Cloud SQL, password, and all the credentials. So you put them in your configuration file. And basically, you go back to your productions and just do an import OS. And I'll just fix the environment variables, which is a very good practice when you're doing this. So yeah, basically, once you do that, you've configured your database on production, on App Engine, Flex, easily, without having the bottlenecks that we used to have before on the other Google App Engine standard environment. So a couple of years ago, about in 2014, 2012, 2011, my friend James built an app on Google App Engine, and it scaled to about 5 million downloads across the world. And without App Engine, he couldn't have been able to scale that fast and maintain his users. So to speak more about how he did it and some of the other services that he leveraged from, he'll be speaking to you. So thank you.
So as Kenneth has told you, let me go back a little bit here. The most important thing to know about App Engine Flex is the runtime is customizable as opposed to the previous App Engine standard. So you can be able to specify a lot of things that your app depends on, and you're allowed to customize the way you're running your application. So you can say, I want my runtime to be Python, and choose the version of Python you want. If you choose Python 2, it's going to be deployed in Python 2. If you choose Python 3, it's going to be deployed in Python 3. And you can add a lot of the environment variables that your app is going to depend on. So the moment you say G-Cloud deploy, where we deploy RPG applications, all these environment variables will be available in the runtime of your application. So he has talked to you about cloud storage, but we know a typical simple web application needs the database. You need to store a place to store your files, and as well you need to do some caching. Sometimes you need to run some tasks in the background. So all these services you can do them without having to actually manage it yourself. Thank you. So you can actually be able to configure cloud storage. Those of you who've used Amazon, you know we store all our files in Amazon S3. So with App Engine, you can store your files on Google Cloud Storage. And Google Cloud has a lot of services that you can use to suit your various needs. And this depends if is your data structured or is your data unstructured. But before you even choose a service to store your data, you need to make a decision which service do you need to use to store that kind of data. And how do you do that? The first thing you need to ask yourself, is your data structured? And if the answer is no, so you store your data on Google Cloud Storage. That could be images, audio files, video files. But if your data is structured, then you go ahead and ask yourself, is it SQL or is it not SQL? If it's not SQL, there are still other services that you can choose. For example, if it's just basic JSON structured data, you can choose to store it in Google Cloud Data Store. But if it's you need high performance for your data, you can choose Google Cloud Bigtable, which is basically a high-level data storage service that is which Google Cloud Data Store is built on. But if your data is structured and it's also SQL, then you can go ahead and ask yourself, is it big data? Do you need data warehousing for your data? Then you can choose Google Cloud BigQuery, which is a data warehousing service. But if it's SQL, you don't need a lot of high performance. Just go with Google Cloud SQL. One caveat to note with Cloud SQL is, unlike in Amazon, whereby you can spin up Postgres instances, I think you can also do Oracle and Microsoft. For now, you are only given a MySQL instance to choose from. But if your data is not structured, you need to store it in a service called Google Cloud Storage, which is a powerful and easy to use storage service. You can use it to store any sort of unstructured data, media, videos, photos. You can also store your JavaScript and CSS there. And you only pay for what you use, just like in Amazon S3. So those are the fees per month for 1 GB. And how do you do it? The first thing you need to do is to create a bucket, just like you would if you were storing on Amazon S3. But if you want to do it, you can do it on the console, but if you want to do it on the command line, there is this very important tool called Cloud SDK. And you can easily install it, and this gives you access to a tool called GSUTL that you can use to be able to create and manage your buckets. So you can use GSUTL to upload and download and delete objects from your cloud. You can use it to list the buckets that you have, all the objects that you have, and many other things. Let me show you some examples. For example, if I wanted to create a bucket from my command line, it's just called GSUTL. I give it the URL of the bucket I want to create, and that will be available for my project. I can be able to list all the files in a bucket. I can be able to copy files from my machine to the bucket, or to move an entire directory from my local storage. So it's a very important tool. But since we are talking about Python today, how do you upload files to cloud storage from your Python project? So once you deploy your app to the Google Cloud Storage, to the Google App Engine Flexible Environment, the G-Cloud Storage library is available for you. So the first thing you do if you want to upload a file there is to The first thing you need to do is to import the Google Cloud storage library. Create a client which is based on the project ID, with the project you created once you started using App Engine. And basically, you go ahead and create a bucket. If you didn't have one, you can get, if you had created one, you can get it. And then, basically, this is it. You upload your file, and the cloud storage will return a URL, which you can then save in your database and reference it later. If you're running on Django, which is what we were talking about today, you can use a tool we call Django Storages. Django Storages was initially created to be storing files on Amazon S3, but the same way we store files on Amazon S3, we can use Django Storages to store our Django application files on cloud storage. So basically, you need to specify that I'm using the GS bottle storage library. I specify my access key, my secret, and then the bucket name. And whenever you do Django manage.py collect static, all your files are going to be stored in your bucket, and you have access to almost free to use service for storing static files. But then again, your app sometimes will need caching. When you're running on App Engine, you don't need to manage extra hardware for caching your application. There's a service called Cloud Memcache, which is basically a distributed managed data cache that is available for your application. It can be used to speed up requests in your app, obviously. An app can catch data query or any subsequent request will be called from the Memcache, which is a service that you don't have to manage. You all know how hard it is to maintain cache hardware. So you can set data to expire from the Memcache at any time. There are two types of cloud Memcache. One of them is shared Memcache. This is available to all applications that deploy to the App Engine flexible environment. But you can also request dedicated cache, which is going to be available just for your application. There are some limits for cloud caching as opposed to if you were just managing the hardware yourself. The first one is the maximum cache data is 1 megabyte. And also a key cannot be larger than 250 bytes. And the total size for a single call cannot be more than 32 megabytes. So despite it being a managed service that you don't have to maintain, it has some limits that you should be aware of if you want to implement it in your project. And also a key obviously cannot contain an albite. So for you to be able to use it, the first thing you need to do is go to the Cloud Console and be able to navigate to the Cloud Memcache section. And then you select the kind of cache that you want to use for your project. You can select dedicated cache, you can select shared cache if you want. So generally, the cache pattern, as we all know, is the first thing that happens is an application will receive a query from a user. And then the application is going to check whether that data is available or does it need to query that data from the database. If the data is in the Memcache, you return that data to the user without having to hit the DB. And if the data is not in the Memcache, you obviously have to query it from the database, store it, and then you return to the user, and then you store the results in the Memcache for future requests. So that is basically the cache pattern. That's the pseudocode. You get some data, you get some requests from the user. You check if the key is available in your cache, and if it's not, if it's available, you return the data, and if it's not, you basically query for it, and you store that cache. You store that data in the cache for subsequent requests. So how do you use the cloud cache? You don't need to manage any hardware, as we say. All you need to do is access to the API, and you create unique keys for your data, and that is how you store them. So the first thing you do is you say, Memcache, I want to add this key, and this is the value for that key. And then you can get that key at any time that you want for subsequent requests. So you can monitor your cache on the console as well. So what does monitoring your cache give you? It gives you a lot of metrics such as the service level. It shows if your application is using the shared or the dedicated service. It will show you the hit ratio, how much the percentage of and the row numbers of memcache hits and misses. It is also going to show you the items in the cache as well. And you can see how long the item has been in the cache, how quickly or how often is the item being accessed by the users. Also, you can be able to see the total cache size. So there are some things you should be aware of if you want to use cloud memcache. Number one, you should be able to handle the API failures gracefully. You don't need to expose the failures to your users. You should try and use batch capability as much as possible. The API has a batch capability that allows you to put as many keys as possible at once, instead of making a lot of requests when you're storing data. And also distribute the load across your memcache key space. Instead of having one key that is handling a lot of data, try and see if you can break it down and distribute it across many keys. That will help in scaling your application in the future. So that's a lot about caching, but sometimes when we write Django applications, we need to handle tasks in the background. Sometimes some requests are long. We need to report back to the user but run the task in the background. There's a service called Cloud PubSub, which is basically an asynchronous messaging service that can allow you to do tasks in the background, that can allow you to decouple your application and allow them to communicate with each other via messaging. It uses the publisher-subscriber model in the sense that you can be able to publish messages to the PubSub service, and other parts of your application can be able to subscribe to those messages. Tasks are stored as topics. I'm going to show you how to do that. And it can, as I told you, it uses the push and pull model to subscribe and publish messages. So you can use it in your web app to run any number of background tasks. You can use it to decouple your web application into microservices and allow those services to communicate with each other via messaging instead of just basic HTTP code. So the concepts for PubSub are, number one is a topic. And a topic is a named resource to which messages are sent by publishers. There is also a subscription whereby you can subscribe to a topic for particular messages that are being sent to that topic. And a message basically is the data that you send to a topic for other subscribers to that topic to be able to receive. So that's basically how it looks like. You have your publisher creates a message and sends it to a topic, and any other part of your application that has subscribed to that topic is going to receive that message. You can also have many publishers publishing to the same topic, many subscribers subscribing to the same topic. It's the same concept. So you can have maybe your, you can have your order application publishing to the billing application, and any application that is connected to a particular topic will receive the messages instantly as they're sent to the topic. So the first thing you need to do in order to use PubSub is to create a topic. And how do you create a topic? Once you deploy your app to the cloud App Engine Flex, you get access to the PubSub library. And the first thing you need to do is create a PubSub client, and then you tell it, please create a topic for me. Of course, you'll give your topic a unique name, and then you call create, and the topic will be created. Once you've created a topic, you can obviously then now start publishing messages to that topic. So how do you send a message to a topic? The first thing you need to do is, from your PubSub client, you tell it to get a particular topic. Topic names will obviously be unique. You can create them the way you want. And then you tell it, this is the data I want to publish this topic. And once you call topic to publish, your data is going to be published to that topic. You can list all the topics that are available in your application. Just call the client and ask it to list all the topics. You can delete topics, obviously. If topics are no longer in use, you can delete them in the future. Just call topic.delete for each topic that you've accessed. And then, once you've created topics, obviously, now you need other applications in your infrastructure to be able to subscribe to those topics. So how do you create a subscription? Once again, you just call the PubSub library. You you call the particular topic that you want to subscribe to. And then you just say topic.subscription, the subscription name, and then you create it. And once you've created a subscription, that particular section of your application can be able to receive any message that is sent to that topic. So if you have any background task that you want to be running in your application, instead of the user waiting for the process to be complete, you can use this service, and it's a managed service. You don't have to install it or manage anything. It comes available in a flexible environment, and I think in other App Engine services as well. So there is also a service called Struct Driver Debugger, which is a feature that lets you inspect the state of your application at any time. With Struct Driver Debugger, you don't have to also manage now the logging system of your application. There is no need to manage the logs, the logging statement, and it doesn't slow down your application. So it's a service whereby you just, once you deploy to the cloud App Engine, just do a pip install of gcloud Python debugger, and then inside your main function or inside your settings.py, you can be able to attach the debugger, and any statement, any print statement in your application, all the requests that really are coming, you'll be able to see them on the Struct Driver console. So I think because of time, I can allow some questions with Kenneth. Thank you.
I don't know how many questions we can handle because we started a bit late because it's video team stuff. But does anyone have any questions?
So you mentioned that you don't have to worry about security when deploying your application. Is that security in terms of the infrastructure or security in terms of your application? And also, I checked, and it looks like registering CA certificates for your domains on App Engine is quite a manual process. So are there any solutions to help with like fetching, verifying certificates for your domain name with Let's Encrypt, because that expires like every 90 days. So you have to go through that interface. It's kind of a mess. So what kind of solutions are there, and are you looking into solutions to automate fetching certificates from the CA for domains?
Okay. Let me answer your last question, and then maybe James can answer the security one. So for, like Let's Encrypt, I mean, that came out like last year, and then so I have like this friend who's also an expert. So he actually built something that allows you to renew your SSL certificates automatically on App Engine. So there's actually like solutions to cover that pain that actually came from the community, not from Google. So let's chat after this, and I'll share with you. Yeah, I can't remember the exact URL, but I'll definitely share with you.
In terms of security, I meant the security of the hardware, the database. The security of your application, obviously, you have to handle it yourself. So the managed database is the security patches in the new releases MySQL does. They did that for you in the cloud. It's not like you managing a server which runs your database. So that's the distinction I was trying to do. Thanks.
Thank you for your talk. Thank you for your talk. Just one question. I think most of your code, your pseudocode, was focused on the actual cloud environment. I wanted to find out what support you have for your dev environment on your local machine.
So you can install the App Engine environment on your local machine. You can simulate the entire environment on your machine and do the testing for all these services on your server, on your local laptop. The moment you just hit G-Cloud deploy, it just takes that configuration and puts it in the cloud. So you can simulate the local environment by installing the App Engine framework on the machine.
Maybe I can add on that. So when you install, so previously you had to like go every time download Google App Engine SDK for each of the things, but now they have G Cloud, so which is like a command line. It's like now the universal standards of interacting with anything on Google Cloud platform. So once you install G Cloud, you can go and install. They have something called components. So for instance, if you're using just Google App Engine Flex, so you can just go and say G Cloud install components and then define you want just App Engine for Python, for instance, and every time it keeps updating. Now, if you define your app.yaml and your settings.py for your app, depending on which environment you're using, you just hit a small command line app like gcloud run, and it will start the DevOps server, those kinds of stuff that you normally used to have to configure yourself, but right now it's like just one command and just can run it locally or in production. So if you say production, like deploy, you just deploy automatically. Yeah.